Why should I consider buying a property specifically in Batumi, that vibrant and appealing city situated directly on the beautiful Black Sea coast? What exactly makes Batumi such an incredibly interesting and highly attractive location for a potential investment? You'll receive all my essential key facts and crucial insights on this very topic in this comprehensive video. Hello and welcome. This is Florian Wilk, Managing Director of CMC in Cyprus for 15 years and also in Georgia for 8 years. And in this video, I want to share my views and experiences with you, what makes Batumi in Georgia so interesting. And many people aren't very familiar with Batumi. Although it's a booming place in terms of tourism and development, but in Germany and Austria, Batumi is still not very well known, not yet very popular. And I've put together 5 reasons that, in my view, make Batumi especially exciting and interesting. And you actually won't find this combination anywhere else in the world. Here we have a very unique mix or combination of different, very investor-friendly factors. The first is the economic and legal stability. A very, very important point. We have constant economic growth in Georgia, especially in Batumi when it comes to tourism. And above all, we have a very, very stable legal situation. For example, this means that as a foreign investor, you are allowed to buy real estate without any restrictions. That's not something you can take for granted. I don't want to speak badly about other countries, so I won't name any. But there are many countries, especially in Southeast Asia, but also in other regions of the world, where you can't even become an owner as a non-citizen of the country, as a foreigner. Or you can only lease. That's very, very often the case. Many people don't even know that. They say, I own a property here or there. But in reality, it's actually a lease agreement for 25 or 99 years or something like that. So it has nothing to do with ownership in the true sense, in the legal sense. A very, very important point, in Georgia, this restriction does not exist except for agricultural land. That's a different matter, but if you want to buy or invest in commercial properties, residential properties for living purposes, or even land, you have absolutely no restrictions. A very, very, very important point. Then we have a growing infrastructure, that's point number 2. And that means, for example, in Batumi there are always new marinas. A new marina is currently being built, for instance. There is the airport in Batumi, which is continuing to develop and of course is also being expanded so it can accommodate more passengers. We have Kutaisi, which is 2 hours away, as another airport that has very, very good connections, especially to Europe. It's state-of-the-art, a really fantastic modern airport. So a lot is happening in terms of infrastructure. In Batumi, you also don't have the same standard everywhere. That's why I'm mentioning it. You have a great internet connection. And of course, when it comes to utilities like electricity, water, and so on, everything runs smoothly. That's important. Everything is at an international level. That's not something to take for granted, which is why it's a very, very important point. Then, of course, the third point, which is also quite significant, low prices, but also taxes, which I've combined here into one point. What does that mean? The cost of living in Georgia is about 1/3 of what it is in Germany, if you want to compare it that way. So it's truly a very affordable, inexpensive country, yet in many, many aspects, it offers very good quality. Whether you use services or go out to eat at a restaurant, the quality in Georgia is really good. You have to say that at an international level, and all of this at 1/3 of the prices you're used to in Germany. Likewise, groceries and many everyday necessities are absolutely affordable. Taking a taxi, things like that, transportation and so on. So very low prices, but that doesn't mean you have to compromise on quality. So simply more value for money, more bang for your buck, and also the tax situation. That's actually our main topic. The tax situation is extremely attractive, both for companies. In certain sectors like IT, there are even tax exemptions. No corporate tax, no VAT that exists. but also on a personal level. Favorable tax conditions, for example, the territorial taxation that applies in Georgia. That means foreign income is tax-free for you as an individual if you live in Georgia. Maybe one day it's not the most popular destination for immigrants, but it's becoming more and more so. But even the income tax is a flat 20%. I think that's something you can live with. Crypto income is tax-free on a personal level, and there are many, many more things you could list, and so on and so forth. So to put it briefly and concisely, Georgia is a very, very, very attractive location from a tax perspective. And this is also a very important point. Lawmakers can't just raise taxes or introduce new ones on a whim. They always need a referendum from the people for that. A public referendum, similar to Switzerland, is required. The people must say, yes, we want this new tax, we want the tax increase. And of course, that's at least pretty unlikely. So it's also very, very stable from a tax perspective. Then, a very important point, I already hinted at it in the first point, point number 4, booming tourism. That really has to be said. Batumi, if you haven't been there yet, especially in the summer, there's a lot of life, a lot going on. It's not overcrowded or anything, but it's... Hotels and Airbnbs are incredibly well booked, even at high prices. Sometimes it's hard to find anything at all, at least at a good level, at a good standard. Sure, you can always find cheap accommodations, but of course that's not what you want. So high quality accommodations are limited and tourism is growing. Georgia is becoming more and more popular. You'll find people there from Arab countries, but let's say the well-off crowd. You also see Asians. I've noticed more and more of them each time I've been there recently. Europeans as well, Germans, French. So you hear a lot of different languages and see various cultures. All of this, of course, is absolutely peaceful, and it's simply a steadily growing tourism sector, with tourism itself becoming increasingly important in Georgia over the past few years. There are also great statistics showing just how much tourism has grown there over the past 10 years. So Georgia is really on a very, very good path and still has plenty of room to grow. And the last point, as an investor, this is of course the decisive one at the end of the day. In Georgia, you're actually allowed to expect above average returns. I'm not really a big fan of just throwing around arbitrary numbers, but if you carefully calculate with a range of 8 to 10%, that's definitely and absolutely possible to achieve in the country of Georgia. And that's certainly not something where the local Georgian investor or where anyone would bat an eye. That's absolutely realistic. Of course, as everywhere else in the world, location is the most crucial factor. There's actually a project here that we've just secured with a cooperation partner over there, so to speak. It's in very, very high demand, and the situation is as follows. There's a plot of land in Batumi in a very, very central location. I'd say the most central and best location you could possibly imagine, right at the end of the 5-kilometer long promenade where you can walk, cycle, jog, and so on directly by the sea. On the other side is the Old Town, so it's exactly at the great intersection between the Old Town and the promenade. A casino project is being built there, the largest casino on the Black Sea, which is currently under construction. And here, together with a cooperation partner, we've been able to secure and reserve some units for clients, family, and friends, so to speak. If this is of interest to you, you are very welcome to get in touch with me or with our cooperation partner. I'll link it below the video so you can get an impression of Batumi and above all of this flagship project. Because at the end of the day, what's crucial for extraordinary returns is, of course, having exceptional quality and location. And that's exactly what you have here. That's definitely the case here. So it's an absolute top project. I've been on the ground in Georgia for 7 or 8 years now, mostly in Tbilisi. But of course, I also come to Batumi quite often to relax and unwind. And I have to say, I've never seen a project like this in Batumi before. This really is an exceptionally great location, and there's a fantastic real estate developer at work there. And when you have the chance to invest in the best, the choice is, of course, very, very easy. So if this is interesting for you, if you also want these above average returns for yourself, for your investment, and especially the appreciation in value, because right now property prices per square meter are still around $3,500 to $4,000, not euros, US dollars, and we're talking about fully finished units here. So turnkey, unlike what is unfortunately common in Georgia in what's called the black or white frame, meaning in a shell construction state, which is unfortunately the standard in Batumi. Most properties are handed over as a black frame, just the shell, and then you have to start with the interior finishing, which means another 1 or 2 years of construction. Those are all things I would always keep a big distance from. As a European investor, that's no fun at all. There's no joy in it. You just end up with hassle, problems, and of course, unexpected extra costs. Some people might not even know that this exists because it's not something you're familiar with from Europe. Exactly, so if you're interested, feel free to book an appointment using the link below. Sorry. And thank you for your attention. Feel free to give me your feedback on Batumi and the Black Sea coast of Georgia. I personally think it's beautiful. From a German perspective, it's still underestimated, but it's definitely on the rise and above all, still offers very, very affordable and fair entry prices. So thank you very much, all the best, and see you soon. Wishing you all the best, yours, Florian Witt.